Welcome to Drift Off. Tonight, I'd like to invite you on a gentle journey across one of the most important networks in human history. Not a single road, not one straight path across a map, but a vast web of routes stretching across deserts, mountains, cities, kingdoms, and centuries. Tonight, we are traveling along the Silk Road, a name that brings to mind caravans beneath desert stars, bundles of silk and spices, oasis towns glowing with lantern light, merchants, monks, travelers, translators, and storytellers moving slowly between worlds. As you settle comfortably now, allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your breathing to slow. There is nothing to memorize tonight. Nothing to study, nothing to hold tightly in your mind. The story can simply move past you like a quiet caravan crossing the moonlit sand. And if sleep arrives before we reach the end, you're welcome to follow it. For now, imagine a desert evening. The heat of the day has faded. The sky has turned deep blue. The first stars have appeared overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a small line of travelers move quietly toward the next oasis. And with them, history begins to move too. Not one road, but many. The Silk Road was never truly one road. It was a network. A great system of land and sea routes that connected East Asia, Central Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. For many centuries, people traveled along these routes, carrying goods, ideas, beliefs, languages, inventions, and stories. Silk was one of the most famous goods. Soft, light, beautiful, and highly prized. Chinese silk became known far beyond China itself. But silk was only part of the story. Along these routes travelled spices, glass, horses, metals, precious stones, paper, ceramics, medicines, religious texts, artistic styles, and knowledge. The road carried objects, but it also carried human connection. A merchant might travel from one city to another another trader might take goods onward. A caravan might stop at an oasis. A monk might copy a manuscript. A craftsman might learn a new technique. A story might be repeated in a market and then carried hundreds of miles away. In this way, the Silk Road was not only a trading route, it was one of the great meeting places of the human past. The story of the Silk Road is often linked to China's Han Dynasty. In the 2nd century BC, the Han Emperor sent an envoy named Jiang Qian westward. His journey was difficult and long, but it helped reveal the wider world beyond China's western frontiers. Through these contacts, China learned more about the peoples and kingdoms of Central Asia. One of the things the Han court particularly valued was the strong horses of the West. Horses that could transform travel, trade, and military power. Over time, connections deepened, routes became better known, caravans moved more regularly, cities grew richer, and the movement of goods across Asia became part of a much larger pattern of exchange. By around the 1st century BC and into the 1st centuries AD, silk and other goods were moving across enormous distances. From Chinese workshops, across deserts and mountain passes, through Central Asian trading towns, toward Persia, toward the Roman world, toward places where people may never have met a Chinese weaver, yet still held Chinese silk in their hands. Imagine that. A piece of fabric beginning its life in one world, passing from hand to hand, crossing landscapes its maker would never see, and arriving months or years later in a place almost unimaginably far away. A journey along the Silk Road was slow. It was measured not in hours, but in weeks and months. Travellers moved with animals, wagons, bundles and guides. They crossed deserts where water mattered more than gold. They followed mountain passes where the air grew thin and cold. They rested in oasis towns where wells, shade and shelter made travel possible. Places such as Dunhuang, Kashgar, Samarkand, Bukhara, Merv, and many others became important centres of exchange. Each city had its own character, its own languages, its own markets, its own smells of food, animals, dust, cloth, spices, and lamp smoke. In the evening, travellers might gather in caravanserais, roadside inns built to shelter merchants and animals. A courtyard in the centre, rooms around the edges, camels kneeling after a long day's journey, goods stacked carefully in corners, voices speaking different languages beneath the same night sky. A trader from one region might sit near a monk from another. A storyteller might share news from a distant court. A traveller might describe mountains no one else had seen. Slowly, patiently, the world became more connected. Not all at once, not through one great event, but through countless small exchanges. One conversation, one trade, one journey, one night's rest at a time. The Silk Road carried wealth, but its deeper importance was cultural. Ideas moved along it. Religions travelled. Buddhism spread from India into Central Asia and China, along routes used by merchants and pilgrims. Texts were translated. Images changed shape as artistic traditions met one another. Stories adapted to new languages and new audiences. Technologies moved too. Paper, developed in China, eventually travelled westward. So did knowledge of printing, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and craftsmanship. No single traveller carried all of this. No one person understood the whole network. But together, across centuries, these routes helped civilizations influence one another. The ancient world was not as isolated as it sometimes appears. People were curious, practical, ambitious, devout, skilled, and hopeful. They wanted beautiful things, useful things, sacred things, new things. And so they travelled, they traded, they listened, they learned. Across the Silk Road, humanity became more aware of itself. One connection at a time. The people who travelled these routes did not usually call them the Silk Road. That name came much later. In the 19th century, the German geographer Ferdinand von Richthofen used the term for the routes connected with the silk trade. The name stayed. And although it can make the network sound simpler than it really was, it remains powerful. The Silk Road. A phrase that suggests movement, distance, mystery, connection. But perhaps the most important thing to remember is that it was never only about silk. It was about the movement of the human world, east and west, north and south, desert and mountain, city and village, all linked together by the steady rhythm of travel. Over time, sea routes also became increasingly important. Ships carried goods across the Indian Ocean, between China, Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, East Africa, and beyond. These maritime routes were part of the same wider story of connection. Sailors followed monsoon winds. Ports became meeting places. Goods moved across water as well as land. The Silk Road, in its broadest sense, was not a single desert track. It was a whole world of movement. Caravans crossing dry lands, ships crossing moonlit seas, languages meeting in markets, ideas traveling farther than any one person could walk. The old world was alive with exchange, slow, difficult, sometimes uncertain, but deeply connected. The Silk Road mattered because it changed what civilizations knew about each other. It made distant places less distant. It allowed goods to travel farther than ever before. It allowed ideas to take root in new soil. It helped shape art, religion, science, trade, and diplomacy across continents. And yet, it was made from simple human actions. A person packing a bundle, a camel rising to its feet, a merchant counting coins, a monk carrying a text, a sailor watching the wind. History often seems to be made by emperors and kings, but the Silk Road reminds us that history is also made by travelers, translators, craftspeople, traders, by ordinary people moving patiently through the world, carrying something from one place to another, and changing both places as they go. And now, as our journey begins to slow, imagine the Silk Road beneath the stars. the desert cooling after sunset, a caravan resting at the edge of an oasis, lanterns glowing softly in the dark, bundles of silk carefully wrapped, animals sleeping, travelers speaking quietly before the night grows still. Beyond them lie mountains. Beyond the mountains, another city. Beyond that city, another road. And beyond that road, another world. For centuries, these routes connected people who might otherwise never have known one another. Not perfectly, not easily, but patiently, step by step, mile by mile. The Silk Road reminds us that civilization is not built in one place alone. It is woven together like silk, thread by thread, across time. And now, perhaps your own thoughts are beginning to quiet. Perhaps your breathing has become a little slower, a little deeper, a little easier. There's nothing more you need to follow tonight. Nothing more you need to understand. Nothing more you need to carry. The stars can continue shining over the desert. The old roads can continue winding through history. And you can rest now. Allow your shoulders to soften, your jaw to loosen, the muscles around your eyes to relax. You are safe, comfortable, supported, with nothing expected of you, nothing required from you, nothing to achieve. Sleep doesn't need to be earned. Rest doesn't need to be earned. You're allowed to let go. You're allowed to become sleepy. You're allowed to drift off. You don't need to hear the ending. You can simply relax and sleep. And if you like another sleepy history journey, there'll always be one waiting for you here. Good night, my friends.